If you've ever seen a significantly high quality representation of the history of the civil rights movement in Birmingham, if you've seen banners, if you've seen educational programs, if you've seen something that said, that was done very well, it likely had the fingerprints of Dr. Samantha Briggs on it. I bring forward to talk about artifacts and preserving our legacies, Dr. Samantha Briggs.
I need to take you on the road.
I'm with you.
Thank you. Look, when you get intros like that, when you get titles like doctor, when you walk up with a stack of books, and when you're in a church, sometimes that makes it seem like this is about to be more than 5 minutes. And it's not. Because I watched this team and how they shut you down if you go over your time. And so I was given 10, but told I didn't need to use it. But no, I'm Samantha. That's just how I like to be called, and you can call me Sam at that. But I want to start and share how I take in history, and that's from my mother. And it's a poem that she wrote, and I had the book with me, in which it's been published, but that got left on the kitchen counter. But it's called Hand Me Down Mothering, and it was written by my mother, Sylvia Brent Elliott. When I was a young and active mother, I was engaged every minute of the day, planning meals, activities, and life for my children. They didn't miss very much at all. Their childhoods were thoughtfully constructed, very much like my mother had constructed my own, guaranteed to enrich my life. If I had forgotten anything of it, I get to see the rerun with my daughter being active with her young children, engaging in planning meals, activities, and life. My granddaughter standing on a stool helping her mother make dinner at the age of 4, just as her mother helped me when she was 4, and I helped my mother when I was 4, and I assume my mother stood on a stool when she was 4 and helped her mother too. When they were little, I took them to the circus so they would be amazed, to the zoo so that they could see the animals move and play. I took them to the movies for the thrill, to theater so that they could see it live. I took them to restaurants and formal dinners so they could be served by men in white gloves. I took them to visit relatives so that they could know them, to see Santa so they could know expectation. I gave them elixir for their pain. I spanked them when they needed correction. They got to see sickness. They got to see death. I comforted them in those losses. I took them shopping for groceries so that they could learn the names of foods and see it raw. For clothes so that they could see choices. I took them to school so that they would love to learn, and to church so that they could hear the stories. I showed them the sun and the moon and the stars and the rain so that they could know God. I showed them flowers blooming and the colors in the rainbow and on earth so that they could know God even more. I read them books, I sang them lullabies, I baked them cookies, I made popsicles and popcorns and snow angels. I hugged them and I kissed them and I bathed them and I loved them. I cut out Valentine's hearts. I swam in lakes, in rivers, in oceans. I even took them to the sea. I gave them the things my mother gave to me, but the greatest gift is to see my daughter give her children the things that I gave to her. That's history. That daughter that my mother was referring to, that she last saw at the age of 7, is now almost 27, and sits here with me today and has made me the grandmother of quite the brilliant, creative, snow angel making little 2.5-year-old. Novin is Novin Althea. She is the 5th, because this is Micah Althea. I'm Samantha Althea. I was raised by Sylvia Althea, who was raised by Althea. That's history. I'm trained as a sociologist, and I remember when Micah came of age to ask a question, what is that? Her daddy's a mathematician and an artist. She knew what that was. What is a sociologist? And I said, well, and we happened to have just come from our regular routine Chick-fil-A. She had an ice cream cone in her hand, and while she's talking, she's licking her ice cream cone. And of course, I got an ice cream cone. So I'm licking my ice cream cone in between sentences. And we both had our head tilted. And we were eating it the exact same way. Well, she probably learned how to not let it drip from me teaching her and watching me, make sure we don't let a thing go to waste. I said, you're a sociologist. You studied this frozen delight, and you don't want to miss a single taste. And so you are crafting a skill in how you enjoy it to make sure you don't miss anything. You're a sociologist. And so we've always had that dialogue. I would prescribe the same thing. We're all historians, no matter what that looks like. Watching my daughter raise my granddaughter is watching my mother's poem come to life. The beautiful thing of it is, if I go through this poem line by line, I promise you we could find an artifact in our home that is reflective of this history coming to life, whether it be the cookbooks, the ones that my mother passed down to me with her handwritten corrections in the margin, whether it be the ones now that Micah is taking from me where she's, jotting down the things she's learning, whether it be the fact that I'm wearing 3 pieces of my mother's jewelry. Yeah. Micah's wearing my headband and my tennis shoes. And she probably don't want me to tell you that. But it shows up in all kinds of ways, right? It shows up in all kinds of ways. One of my favorite things, and Micah and I do this is my mother's Bible. This thing, if I touch it the wrong way, will crumble. These green markers are my mother's. Every note, every scratch of paper, every Kenneth Copeland little mailer she used to get in the mail, y'all remember that, was my mother's. This little novena, the miracle prayer, my mother's. And I try to keep everything in the exact page. My mother has been gone for 19 years. When we wake up in the morning and we have our coffee together, one of our favorite things to do is I close my eyes and I just flip my fingers and I stick my hand in a page and I open it up to see what Sylvia has to say today. Because she's with us always, talks to us daily. But my mother wrote in the margin, she highlighted, she wrote scripture and telephone numbers. She left me a little treasure chest, a guide. Anytime I need her, I open this. Anytime I need God, I open this. What's further, before my mother passed, she found this when Micah was born called Grandmother's Gift of Memories. And for, some unforeseen reason, she bought multiple. I think she had a reason that I couldn't understand just yet. Because my mother carried Micah in her womb. I carried Novin in my womb because we've passed this down. So my mother was preparing me, so now I have 2. Why do I have 2? Because one is the one my mother wrote for Micah, and one is the one that I am writing now for Novin. This is our history. It asks about her favorites. It asks about the highs, the lows. It asks about habits. It asks about how we celebrate. It asks about how we keep her name alive. Micah knew her grandmother for 7 years. But every time I see this young woman get up and walk across my living room, I see her grandmother. She has her exact same gait, her mannerisms. Sometimes I tell her to go away because I didn't want to see my mama today. This is all memory. It's the recipes, it's the stories, it's the themes, the history. This is a book that was written about the neighborhood that I grew up in back home in St. Louis. There's a chapter on each of the historic homes on this block. One chapter is the history of the home I was raised in. Terrace Tales, number 39. This is a book that Micah will take, and she will share the story of this is where your grandmother came from. This is where your great-grandparents raised her. This is history. History is every day. Yes, it's the buildings. Yes, it's the infrastructure. Yes, but we're all historians. one weird little thing about history and about people is we like to hold on. Sometimes we got to let it go. I am slowly becoming my family's historian. Why? Because they hold on. But I am the one of my generation who has shown interest. And so I look forward to the day where they actually open up that treasure chest and finally hand over everything. We have just acquired the cornerstone of my great-great-grandfather's funeral home back in Aiken, South Carolina, which we have now built a memorial garden in our backyard around it. But that thing had been sitting in someone's garage since 1972. They gave it to my sister about 5 years ago. She put it in the trunk of her car where it had been for 5 years because she didn't know what to do with it. And then she came to me and said, "Do you want this?" "I do indeed." And so we have placed it and made a home for it. History. But we have a responsibility, one, to pass down the stories, to pass down the history, to share it, to make it accessible. But then, to come into spaces like this, a history harvest, brilliant. Share our stories, share our things, because we never know how we're connected. We were just recently at a history conference in Mobile, and I remember hearing the story of the Library of Congress and how just through an exhibit, people connected that never knew one another before. But because history had been shared at a national level, people from all across the country were able to come together and find connections to one another. So I hope that we enjoy not just today, but any occasion like this to gather, to learn history from right here in the district, where history is taught all the time, from our churches, from our families, and then if it doesn't exist, create it. We have an opportunity to continue this. We have a responsibility to continue it, because every single day we have counter narratives and we have folks who are trying to take it away from us. So in order to keep the things, in order to keep it close to us, in order to build up the next generation, they have to know where they come from, they have to know who they are, and they have to know that there's something so much to look forward to. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Briggs. We will have an opportunity for you. I don't know how many of you all have brought artifacts with you today like Dr. Briggs, but to get some of those artifacts, those documents, those books scanned over here in the corner today, that you will have the opportunity to do that. That's one of the resources that the consortium is offering, not only to its members, but to our communities. And there are treasures to be found within. I've told my children, you need to look inside some of the books that I've given you sometime and open up that Bible. You might find that money you asked me for. And I put there to see if you actually read it. So there are all kinds of treasures that are available to us. I do want to invite Truth and Junbei of Recall Aid, because as we move forward, we have to come up with new and creative techniques and strategies for how it is that we can help our people to preserve our histories. Now, I'll just say this. So Truth and Talia and Shanini have been working and developing this app that allows us to use artificial intelligence to help us remember better. And a lot of folks are interested. Microsoft has already invested, JP Morgan Chase, and others. And I said, well, before you go and make your millions, before they take it away and they put it on the market, they were actually supposed to have this go live and to begin at the beginning of September. And I said, let us begin to test it out amongst our own people, because we need it. We have people whose memories, and I'll just say, one of the elders, the men I love more than anyone else in the world, is my father-in-law. My father-in-law was a freedom rider in 1961, and we pushed to be able to get Jessica and her team to come and do an oral history, so we could come in and videotape and record him like we're doing, so we could capture some of what it is that he remembered when he was in jail with Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, and how Dr. King came, and Dr. King just came to get Reverend Abernathy. And Reverend Abernathy said, no, you got to get everybody in here or I'm going to stay here. And so he got everybody and brought them out. That was in October, Jessica, of last year. Memories are so sacred, are so cherished. If I was to ask Reverend Dr. Clyde LaRock Carter today to give me the level of detail that he was able to give just in October of last year, we would not have the same level of detail. Now, and for me, I can tell you, you might ask me something about what happened last week. I may not be able to give you the same level of detail this week. And so having technology that can help us to remember better and to capture it, and then the last thing I'll say is this, and I'll say more, but then it's one thing for us to record it. It's something else to have AI using ChatGPT technology, which I guess Microsoft has given them access to, that then writes it out and writes a narrative. And Lynn Douglas can give a testimony because I said, I don't want you all to do this just because this is my son. I want you to look at it. I want you to see if it works. And so our guinea pig, down when we were in Mobile, she actually tested it out and shared one of her memories. And maybe as they give their presentation that she might want to share a reflection about how that went. But I want to welcome the team of Recall Aid to come forward and share for the next 15 minutes about Recall Aid and how it can help us with our historic preservation.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hey. So nice to meet you. My name is Talia Crowther, this is Sophie, and this is Truth, and we're here to tell you a little bit more about Recall Aid, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yes. So hello everybody. My name is Truth Njumbe. I'm so excited to be here first. I want to thank the consortium and my dad for giving us this opportunity. So it's wonderful looking at all you beautiful people and just to be able to present this. This is a dream come true. This is an opportunity that, I never even knew, honestly, when I started making this, and I'm just so excited to be here. And with my wonderful team as well, so I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. And I just want to say one more thing, Dr. Fraser's story was so moving. With AI and technology, I want to be able to let everybody have that physical piece of paper, that AI generated image that we can give y'all. So you'll be able to remember and have these physical objects with you. Even if you don't have anything with you in hand now, it's all up here. It's all up here, and we can give you guys something to go home with today. So thank you.
All right. So my name is Talia Crowther. My background is actually in healthcare. I have a master's in public health, but the reason that I was pushed towards healthcare was because of my family and some of the things that we experienced with my grandma having Alzheimer's and dementia growing up. And so for me, it was about learning about how can I be a really good caregiver at the age of 14, where me and my cousins would take turns, taking care of my grandma, and I felt like there was a huge disconnect between me and her real story and getting to know her because of this. And so Recall Aid and preserving personal history means a lot for me, is finding a way to connect with my family members. There's a lot of stories, that I can't ask anymore. And unfortunately, because she has passed away since, that I wanted to figure out a way that we can find long-term solutions for memory loss that also bring together people and insights. And so, for instance, with my grandma Doris, she's actually from Alabama, and she's, out of 14 siblings, was the only one to move to New Jersey when she was starting her family. So what a story of resilience and strength and building character. And so things like that is stories that I hope that we can preserve and share with our family members, and you can pass on to your daughters and sons. So that's what preserving history really means to me, but I'll allow Sophie to share.
Hi everyone, I'm Sohini, and I recently joined Recall Aid. I actually knew Talia. We went to Emory together to do our Master's in Public Health. I also come from a background in healthcare. A lot of my family are physicians, and so that was kind of the conversations that I had growing up, and I knew I also wanted to be in healthcare, but I quickly realized that maybe medicine in itself was not it for me. I actually went to college here at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. I did my bachelor's in healthcare management, And then we did public health together, and then I realized that, I really enjoy the tech and the product side, and again, how technology can take the past forward to the future. I personally connected with Recall Aid. I reached out to Leah and said, hey, I want to be a part of this because my younger sister, she had a brain injury 5 years ago. And it essentially, her memories became all jumbled. And so I was like, this could help her so much. It could help get her past memories back from her childhood, and it can help as she's recovering. And so I was like, I want to be a part of this. And so, yes, I think it could very much help people, who are older and who experience so much. But I also think that could help people who are younger and who have already had so much to live in a short period of time. And it can help them, get their stories and put them in paper in a big narrative as well. So that's what preserving history means and preserving memories means to me.
Thank you. And Truth, would you like to share?
Yeah, so a quick introduction about myself. I'm sorry.
Forgot your background.
I didn't say anything. I was just so excited. But I'm a Morehouse College alumnus. I just graduated this summer with a degree in psychology. And I now attend UPenn I'm trying to become a professional counselor, which is basically a therapist. I want to help people who are experiencing things like dementia and Alzheimer's. Currently at my practicum, I go to people who are shut in, and I go to different places and to different homes and give therapy to these populations. So I'm not just here just to make a quick buck. Like, this is what I love. Like, I love helping people. I love psychology. Being at UPenn has been a blessing. And so here we are, and this is what I plan to do. This is my give back to the community. This is what I really want to do to help my own people. So yeah, a quick little bit about us. We are a Black-owned company. We're dedicated to helping people recall memories like this. And like I said, we're so happy to be here with the consortium today for us to have this opportunity. So the essence of Recall Aid, let's get into that. So what is Recall Aid? I want to ask you guys a question. So have you ever had an old friend that you've talked to before, and they may have said something to you that made you remember something that happened a long time ago? Like, say it could be 10, 20, 50 years ago. Something that happened that was crazy. All it took was for them to say a few words, and memories just came flooding back. And so that took me back for a second. I was like, what if we could use this new AI that's out to help people remember whenever they want it? And so that drove me. I made the prototype, with Recall Aid, and I submitted it to Microsoft, and they gave us funding for 2 years. So, here we are. And so now with Recall Aid, it asks you questions, and they're personalized to your memory, and it helps you remember. It gives you a 5-paragraph essay. Miss Lynn, she had the opportunity to use it, and it also gives you an image to go with it. So we have a quick video for you guys to watch. I'm gonna go back real quick. It's right there. Is it clickable? It's not clickable. It's also. Okay.
We can pull it up.
Oh, you think you can pull up on the website? Yeah, just go to recall8.com. And you guys are welcome to go to recall8.com. It's my website. It's where it goes into a lot of detail about Recall Aid and what our mission is as well. But we have on our website an introduction video that explains how it works, so you guys have a really clear picture of it. Seems like we're having some issues.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi's a little slow around here. So
So we'll show you guys the video at the end. I'm giving it to Leah now.
Okay, sure. So basically, in terms of our methodology, or like why this is important clinically, is that we're using this theory, is kind of what Truth was saying. When someone says something that reminds you of something else, like you're like, hey, let's go get pizza, and they're like, oh, let's go to our favorite pizza place. It's a process in the brain called cue-dependent memory retrieval, right? So when someone says cookout and I think about 4th of July with my family, that's that process. And so that's what AI is using to supercharge these memories, right? So if I say I want to remember my first time going to church or the first time I got baptized, and all of these memories come flooding back, that's essentially what the AI is doing. So we're welcoming you all to join a session with us today. It takes about 30 minutes, and you give a small prompt, as I mentioned, something I'd like to remember in about 1 or 2 sentences, and it is like a guided meditation or a guided session through that memory. Specifically, it asks about 10 to 11 questions that are personalized to you. So we take into consideration things like your race, your gender, your ethnicity, and it creates questions that will help you through this memory process. And at the end, as mentioned, you get about a 4 to 5 summary, a paragraph summary of that specific memory, and then you also get a picture. But our goal is to overall enhance the memory, increase your mood, and be able to share with your family members. So you can either share a link, you can share it on social media, like Facebook, or you can share it privately if it's a more vulnerable memory that you might not want everyone to see publicly. So in general, our vision is to share stories, right? We want to document and preserve oral history. We think it's a great way to connect people, to understand our legacy, because I think that's where a lot of our power comes from, and understand how we can educate and enhance others on using AI. It is a new technology, which always can be scary, but something that we talk about is like when the calculator first came out, no one knew what a calculator was, right? Everyone's like, that's like cheating. I used to have to do this by hand, right? Exactly, you had to use a ruler, but now you can take a picture and it'll measure it for you. So for us, this is just the new wave of technology that we want to make sure that our communities, that Black communities are a part of, and that we're represented when it comes to new technology. And then of course, like mentioning community empowerment, having conversations like this, sharing stories, and just learning from each other. I think it's a great way to connect with others. See this slide? Yeah, here.
I just want to say one more thing about the community empowerment piece. So to be clear, this is built for Black people. It's built for us. The voices that you will hear if you guys sign up to do the test today are Black voices. They're Black male and female voices. I wanted to make something that was clearly for us, because as AI comes out in this wave, we often get overlooked. So, to prevent that, I made it for us. And why this is so special to me, I actually struggled with epilepsy. In 2020, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and that has impaired my memory as well. So building this, it was a little selfish. I wanted something that I could use to help me remember things from my long-term memory, so things that I can retrieve. Also, why I think this is also so important that we're working with a consortium is because these memories get to be preserved now. You can remember all your memories that you want, and it's preserved in your account. You can keep it. You can pass this on. This is something that you can share. You have tangible memories. The AI, these aren't random pictures. These are pictures created based on your memory. That's for you. So that's why we're so excited about this. We can go into some questions a lot of people ask. So what is AI?
Artificial intelligence.
AI is artificial intelligence, yes. So it's technology that can help us think, learn, solve problems, and adapt to new inputs. So it's the new boom of technology that has come out. Microsoft, they invested a whole lot of money into OpenAI. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about them. Yes. So then Microsoft invested in us. So we have all access to that technology. What you all might be familiar with, what this might be sounding like, is reminiscence therapy. Well, that's because it is. It's a digital technique that allows people to have images and smells, and you give this to somebody, you sit with them, and they're allowed to do this. It has a lot of good effects, but the only thing is it's time consuming. It's expensive. It takes a lot of training. You need somebody there. This can be sent to anybody. We can give to people who are shut in. We can give to people who are hard to get to. And as I explore the community, I'm gonna give to people that I directly interact with. This gives us the opportunity to jump over those barriers. And finally, who is Recall Aid for? I'm gonna let Leah play. You tell us. Yeah, for sure.
So Recall Aid really is for anyone who's just interested in exploring their memories. So yeah. Our hope, though, is that this becomes a long-term solution for anyone with like PTSD, Alzheimer's, etc. And then I think one thing that a lot of people are mostly concerned about when it comes to AI is your data. So we just wanted to let you know that the stories that you shared today will not be shared with anyone else. It's completely secure. We use encryption and different authorization methods to ensure that it is private and safe for you to share. But yes, we'll definitely show you all the video if you come check us out in the office area.
And Brucey, if you have the video up, is it?
I think the
Is
Wi-Fi is a
still
little
going?
bit.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is a little bit slow, but it's okay. We're happy to share the video with you all if you come visit with us
Yeah, we can
in the
do 8
office
people
and just
today.
ask any and answer any other questions. But
Right.
thank you.
All right. Don't go anywhere yet. So real quick. So, do we have any individuals who potentially interested in exploring and doing the recall aid? So let's count them off because we can do 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm skipping his sister because she can do it later. 5. Are the others? Okay.
Try to recall it.
6, 7.
One more.
Dr. Hertz, anyone else? And we'll leave one open if someone wants to decide. So 8. So they have time to do 8 today. Again, this is an exclusive. This is a first-time thing, and I'll just say this real quick. I want to thank them. With the public history team, and with Marcus was a part of this, and Brucey was a part of this, Jessica, we were able to do something phenomenal last year. We did 93 oral histories we were able to upload into our system in 1 year. It was hard. It was expensive. We had to go to people's homes. People are not comfortable if they have a bad hair day sitting in front of the camera for oral history. It was something that I don't know how they were able to do 93 in 1 year, but our thinking is with this app, if you could have an iPad or on your phone and your laptop, and you can do this while you're laying in your bed, and you can begin to do this right at home, where you don't have to set up at Reverend Carter's home, it took us an hour to set up all of the camera equipment and the lighting and everything else. But if we were able to just sit down, I think that we could exponentially increase the numbers of oral histories that we can record, that we can document. It also gives you a written document and a picture of what is described at the end with the help of this artificial intelligence. And it is something that we can do something that we would never be able to do. We have people who we can't get to everybody. We have hundreds and hundreds of names that have been given to us of people where they say, well, you got to talk to Miss Delma, or you got to talk to Mr. Robert. We can't get to everyone. As much consorting and collaborating as we do, but we're looking for resources. And so we're hopeful that this might help us to be able to serve our communities better. So please give them a hand again. And you all should get the names of all those people that signed up. And don't leave yet, because we're going to have these presentations from Jessica and Brucey, and then we will have you go up into the conference room and you can do we have 2 different places where you'll be able to do it. So we can do 2 at a time. And it takes about 30 minutes. 30 minutes for each person, so you need to have 30 minutes to be able to do it. So if someone is really pressed, please let them go first. I'll say that, let them go first so they have the ability to get everything done. All right, thank you. All right, we are now going to turn it over to Brucey Porter, who's going to talk about the history and the legacy and the preservation of the history of St. Paul.
How are we doing today? Thank y'all so much for coming today. My name is Brucey Porter, and I'm the Civil Rights Research Fellow for the Consortium. I was hired about a year and a half ago, and my first task with the Consortium was to uncover the early history of St. Paul from 1869 to about 1930. So many of you probably know St. Paul for their work in the 1963 Children's Crusade, but as Ms. Lynn said, they are celebrating their 155th anniversary, and so their history did not start in 1963. They have generations of change makers and generations of stories that came before that fateful event. But as with so many other Black organizations in the community, we really just had the oral histories from community members themselves. We were pressed to find the actual archives and the actual church records from that time period before about 1950. And so that was my job, was to sort of locate those records so that we could fully tell the full history of the St. Paul community. So that's sort of what we're doing today, is as protectors of your histories and as protectors of your stories. As Dr. Briggs said, everybody is a historian and everybody has their story. And what we're doing today is part of the preservation process. So these things are really important so that we are able to pass down that story from generation to generation. And so we can sort of rebuild that foundation so that we can make sure that we're not going back and we're digging out records out of the church closet, or we're trying to track down that one person who knows what happened 30 years before. We've sort of built the foundations so that we can continue on to do the work that we need to do, and so that generations ahead of us know whose shoulders they stand on. So I wanted to thank you all for being here today, and I will hand it over to Jessica O'Connor, who is our Public History Director. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, if you've seen my presentations before, you know I have this really good habit of going to present after everybody eats. Nothing is different here today, but I appreciate you having a little time to digest. I also have a habit of being scheduled after these like really amazing dynamic speakers, and then they're like, Jessica, get up there and talk about something. I also, in typical form, I'm gonna ask our audience to participate in some things today, and it's just a quick hand raise. And just raise your hand if you know the Holy Trinity. And then if you would just tell me out loud what it is. Okay, and then where I come from, it is celery, onions, and bell peppers. And for our public history, it's a very different Holy Trinity. It is pencils, erasers, and plastic paper clips. And all of those things I call my bonus staff. Because we're going to use them today to preserve all of the things that you all have brought to share with us. On the tables and in the seats, you have a copy of this little packet, Agents of Deterioration, and on the back there's an equipment FAQ. The equipment FAQ is my bonus staff. They don't talk much, but they did show up to party with y'all today. You'll get to see how each of those things work. I'll be using my own Holy Trinity today. I will not read this to you. There's a lot of doctors in the room. I know you didn't get there by accident. But there's a couple of agents of deterioration I want to put a little bit of extra highlight on because Dr. Briggs did a really important job of bringing most of them to the attention. In the public history field, usually there's 10. There's things like humidity and temperature and pressure systems and a number of, the ways things get stored. People keep things in their attics and in their basements and in their garages and in the back of their cars or under their beds. Or if you're like my dad, in a cigarette box in the back of the top of the closet. And I would really like him to stop doing that. Two, I want to bring to your attention because I think it's a story that a lot of us might know. Again, just nod at me or raise your hand if this one sounds familiar. My great-grandmother was a first-generation immigrant. She came from Italy, and she was born in 1906. She showed up at Ellis Island in 1915. Barely. They didn't want to let any more Italians into Ellis Island, so she slid her way in with an Irish family, and that's why my last name's O'Connor. That's my genealogy, that's my backstory. She's also famously a hoarder, and when she died, she left everything in the attic of that house. Now, if you have a family member like that, or the one that I'm about to share, my grandmother, they had a formal living room, and none of the kids were allowed in it, and everything was covered in plastic, and they had a china cabinet with china you couldn't eat on. You couldn't look at it funny, you couldn't go near the china cabinet, and my grandmother was, if you ask her, JFK's first wife. She was obsessed with that man, and she had all his commemorative plates after the assassination. But the plates over time, as people walked by that china cabinet, or if you were like the grandkids, run past and into the formal dining room just to make sure nobody caught you so you could see who could get in and get out the fastest. They started to jiggle over time as you walk past that cabinet, and over time they started to crack because of the pressure on that cabinet bouncing back and forth on the floors. So we've had those repaired. Those are preserved with the other things that were in the home. But most important for our communities, I think, is the bonus agent of deterioration, and one that I don't think the field talks about enough, and that is white supremacy. And I think one of the best examples of that is 16th Street Baptist Church. all of the original windows before they were blown out by the bomb had a dedication. And we lost all of those with the bomb, except for one, the Willing Workers Club. It's the only window that didn't get blasted out in the bomb. It was a benevolent women's organization. And we're trying to figure out what those original dedications were. And we're able to do that because people were preserving their newspapers and their church records and their documents, and they were telling the stories, and they were keeping records of how much things cost. So we were able to start piecing that back together. And so that's something that's happening again, right? We just saw that with the Emmett Till site. Y'all remember that historic sign that repeatedly gets shot up and taken down? Now it's bulletproof. And we're getting those weapons against that modern white supremacy. So that's the reason why I do what I do, is to make sure that that doesn't continue to happen in our communities. And we can preserve our JFK plates, and we can preserve our church records and our family photos and our Bibles and our favorite family recipes. And so I'm glad you're all here today, and I'll be sure to come over and see Brucio, and I will be over there. Come see my bonus team. Make sure you grab a copy, take that with you. It's all 10 plus the bonus one. Brucio's gonna come back up and kind of give you an idea of the order of things. And if you have questions, we'll be here for the next couple hours. Feel free to come talk to us. Thank you.